Hey everyone, my name is Alec Catino. Welcome to Picking Brains. I'm here with my homie, Corey Taylor, an incredibly accomplished professional, physical, and mental coach. Today we're just gonna pick his brain. Man, welcome. Tell me about yourself, man. Where did the tale of Corey Taylor start?
Wow. I grew up in Nashville, some country, but I just got called to Atlanta around my 20s. Grew up a band geek, athlete, always wanted to be in shape, felt like it was effortless. And somewhere along the way, I realized that you can make a career out of this stuff, working people out and staying in shape. And moved to Atlanta about 22, 23, and just started a name and a brand, and kind of haven't really looked back. Over time, it began to become more than just fitness. Got into mindfulness, got into spirituality. I'm sure we'll get into that. But at its core beginning, I was just a kid who wanted to not feel like he had to work for a living. And sometimes you got to create what you want to be a part of. So, here we are almost 2 decades later.
Decades.
2 decades.
Okay. Man, what were you up to for instruments? What were you playing?
I played the tuba. Well, I started out on the trombone, right?
All right.
And then I got into the baritone by the time I got to middle school, because the trombone was like fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. Seventh and eighth, I played baritone, and I never will forget my band director at Apollo Middle School, Mr. Weber. He told me he had a part in Pachelbel Canon in D minor, for tuba, and if I could play it, I could be in the brass quintet. And he said, but it's a really hard instrument, and he said it's not for everyone. I said, oh, let me try, whatever. And maybe he told me that just so I could rise to the occasion. I don't know, but I remember I put my mouth on the mouthpiece. It was huge, and I blew out this sound that I'd never heard before, and it struck my curiosity, and I was pretty good. And he said, Corey, you can actually go to college for free if you can play this thing. This is a very rare instrument. Not everyone can play it. I was like, we'll see. That man was right. I played all through high school on top of doing sports, and I found a way to be good enough to have a full music scholarship going into college. And it just bought me time to really figure out what I wanted to do. So shout out to all the tuba and sousaphone players out there.
Man, so how did you go from tuba to physical training?
From tuba to terror. Right. So it's interesting because I was a band geek, but there were things about working out, even at a young age, like that just were interesting to me. And if I can be honest, I did have a little bit of body dysmorphia going into like middle school. I was chunky for my age. I was always right at the line of being like too heavy to like play certain positions in sports or wrestle at certain weight classes. So I kind of already was always trying to lose weight or trying to get in a better shape. And I think that's just growing up as an athlete. So going into like middle school, I remember wanting to like lose weight. And going into high school, I remember when I started to get in shape, I was wanting to like be something more than like what I had always been. Like now that I'm in shape, I want to get a six pack. I want to, So I was always like body conscious, I think. But it wasn't until I got to college that I started realizing there's a correlation between how I'm living, how I'm eating, and what I'm looking like. And I actually quit the band in college and walked on my college football team. And that was the first time that I had to actually program anything, not just like wing it. So I researched, I learned what the body is and what it isn't and what food is and all of these things. And I just became so wildly interested in like getting bigger, faster, stronger. I began to share that knowledge with people. I started a blog, fitnessasalifestyle.blogspot, and I began to get people like around me, hey, can you help me? Here's what I'm trying to do. And it was science, and it was interesting, and it was fun, and it was my expression of me. And I just thought to myself, I want to do this all the time. And I didn't realize there would be an industry for it, but I knew enough to know that I could make a career out of it. Now, I will say you this, music is still a part of my method. it's the mathematical aspect of music. Everything in my mind is sequential, it's numbers, it's cycles. And so I still use music to push tempos, whether I'm doing group fitness or whatnot. I still pick music that speaks to the moment that I'm trying to convey, because I train with energy and emotion, and I still count in my head everything. It's just not so much something you can hear, but it's like everything, if you train with me, is in sets of twos, sets of threes, and there's a pattern in it all. So my musical mind still has its way, but I'm using more of my passion for fitness to kind of make a beautiful blend of the two passions.
Interesting. Cool. So, like, when you were helping out people initially to begin with, when you were also very early in your journey, what brought more fulfillment? Creating a sense of community among others, or bringing yourself to a heightened physical state, and mental state, rather?
That's a good question. If I'm honest, in the beginning, it was all about me. In the beginning, it was a young man on a journey of self, the alchemist, and I wanted to know where my treasure was. What does this world have to offer me? Is this who I need to be to get it? This is who I haven't been before, and I feel closer to it. So everything I was doing, moving across the state line, putting myself out there online, telling people I'm the best they're ever gonna have, doing interviews and writing my own articles and doing photo shoots and just putting all this energy into, who I want you to see me as. It was about me living in my manifesto and living in the affirmation. And looking back, I can see now why so many people were supportive and celebrated me and championed me online. People started treating me like I had made it, like I had done something. And looking back, I can see why, because it's very audacious to believe in yourself at such a young age.
That's man, that's super interesting, because I can definitely relate to my own personal journey with being a photographer and videographer. That especially back home, like my friends that I've known for a while treat me exactly like that. Like it just clicked as soon as you said that. I'm like, damn, wow, that's really wild. So like, moving to present day, like, what are some internal priorities nowadays? Obviously, like, this is like your full blown career, and life's work. You devote your life to this. So it's just, what's going through your mind? Like, how do you treat your mind, body, and just physical space in general nowadays?
So things have evolved, since the beginning. It's always been a lifestyle, but there's depth. So, in the beginning, it was just, a meet and three and, workout, lift. Then I had the California experience, and I was like, oh, wow, fitness, like running all day and kayaking and water, being in the water, being in the mountains, mobility, that's interesting. Then, there was an era where it was a hybrid. I was doing like CrossFit stuff and working on recovery, and I've gone through all these like metamorphoses of me. Where I am present day is more on the side of holistic well-being and longevity. I've conquered my mountains. I've joined the 1,000-pound club when I was like in my early 20s. We had the 17-inch arms, and the 44-inch chest. I lived through those days. I lived through the GNC days. Now I'm into the how far can I run, until I pass out. How fast can I skate until they break? How many days in a row can I go doing 100 pull-ups and 100 sit-ups? How fast can my jab become? How lean can my body be into my 40s and 50s? How little can I eat to still feel amazing? I'm exploring ideologies, and I'm exploring physics, and I'm 100% plant-based, 100% vegan. Haven't drank alcohol in almost a decade. No tobacco products. Don't smoke weed anymore. Which, if you know me from my old life, you wouldn't even believe it, right? And I'm very much so into everything holistic, everything into homeopathic, everything into plant medicine. So present day, I'm more of like the urban shaman, kung fu wizard archetype, whereas in my last life I was more athlete, and then prior to that I was just more student.
Man, I wanted to dive deeper into your travels to California and also overseas.
Yeah.
So you're born and raised in the Southeast and came to Atlanta, which is realistically not far from Nashville, but still, you left home. Like, tell me the courage it takes to, go to California and also just Thailand, right? Or Cambodia. The fearlessness and courage it takes to just say, like, fuck it, like, I'm out of here. Like,
You talk about courage. It's courage looking back. When I was 20, 21, I remember I read Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret in the World. And my best friend, my brother, Curtis Mackey, he sent it to me. And I remember it struck me in a way nothing ever has, because it said you can have anything you want in a month, but first you have to want it. And it put me through this exercise of actually writing things down, which I had never done. And I remember that summer I saved up like almost $6,000 just to move to Atlanta with no plan B. So looking back, it was courage. And that moment, it was adventure. I really didn't know what I was risking. I really didn't know how much was at stake. And maybe that's because I grew up in a nurturing environment. I'm an only child. They told me I could fly, right? So I kind of had this delusion of greatness, which was a blessing. But it took me believing in myself. And I really changed. I got so deep into like philosophy and philosophical types of literature. I began to close knowledge gaps I didn't know I had in search of belief over doubt. I did everything I could to go against any doubts in my mind. Like when I would feel anxious, I would read. And I would learn from people who had went so much further than 3.5 hours south. And I realized everyone has to take this hero's journey, and a part of it is, and I would say this, I have journal entries to this day I could go to and read about how, hey, Corey, feel what it feels like to overcome this moment, so when you're telling your story, you have something to stand on. Like, I knew that this is going to qualify what I'm going to say later. And I just kind of lived in this story. I think it's all about having a storyline that you're living in, and which is kind of clinical. It's almost like disassociative. I know this is happening, but this is what is going to happen. And so everything I'm seeing is a sign that it's going to happen. Nothing is going to tell me otherwise. And that's a part of what you have to be in this world. Now, California was something because I had already peaked as a trainer and fitness pro in Atlanta. I had my own studio. I already did the big TV thing where I was on A&E, had the celebrity clients, was on the radio. It was crazy. You should have been there. It was the Lake Show, right? Man, what a time. Shout out to Liz Ann Destin, my manager at the time, and everybody who was around. And I went to China with one of the athletes I was training.
damn, China?
Yeah, we would go to China for a few months at a time, like a couple of years in a row. She was, all-world player, Olympian player, Olympic athlete, Yelena Lachenka, if you're out there. And I was meditating on top of a building, and I think I was reading a 4-hour work week. And I was beginning to understand that, like, I'm working hard, but like, is this the final form of who I am? Is it just to like always be busy? What about like wealth? What does that look like? I don't know if those guys are always chasing something. I would think they have like more time for themselves. And what am I doing this for? Because I know I can do anything. So now that I know anything's possible, it just takes time and focus. Like, maybe I should think bigger. Am I just a trainer? What if I could inspire the world from a different angle? Or what if fitness is just a platform, And I began to ask myself all these introspective questions through meditation. I remember I meditated for 6 hours. Just didn't move, and it felt like a few minutes. And then when I got back to the States, I was just like, the next time I go to LA, I'm going to look for a place to stay. And I had already kind of went back and forth. I had a best friend named Gonzalo who's still there, and he would let me crash on his couch. And I just remember coming back to Atlanta after my visit there thinking, why not now? Yeah. And so I moved to LA in 2017. I was there for 2 years. I couch surfed for the first 6 months, I think. My good friend Will Thomas was out there staying on Burnside Avenue, And I just did it all, man. I did hikes for free. I had 30 to 50 people out there. I was doing online workouts. I ended up coming in contact with this nonprofit, and they made me their ambassador. And then I ended up having a global experience, and I was able to go to Cambodia And that's how I got to Southeast Asia, doing mission trips, leading people there, still keeping fitness in my heart, but using my platform to create awareness for other causes. And it showed me a different side of myself, like the humanitarian in me. Me probably 20 years from now, when that's all that I do. But I was able to teach kids how to meditate. At the time, I was training for the Olympics 2020 as a boxer. So that was all I was like focused on, was fighting. So when I'm over there, what do you think I'm doing? I'm boxing. I'm attracting people. So now people are wanting to learn how to box. I'm working with the kids. Fell in love with the gym over there and ended up able to like train with those guys, and decided to stay there longer than the few weeks I was supposed to be there. Ended up staying in Cambodia almost a year. Damn. And was able to live there, live with the people, learn the culture, learn the language, understand the things that they had to go through as a culture, understand the differences, but also the similarities, go deeper into myself as a fighter, and go deeper into my purpose. And so you spoke about like the courage. Looking back in hindsight, everything was courageous, but in those moments, it was almost a necessity. I needed to get out of Nashville, and I needed to know who I was in the world. I needed to stay in Cambodia. I needed to get out of Atlanta and go to LA, because that itch would have haunted me. I think our potential haunts us for all the right reasons, and it's only when you lean into it, you realize it was you from the other side. You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
like McConaughey in Interstellar. You know, it's you yelling from the abyss. And there's so much I can share, but you know, that's definitely, you know, those are definitely milestone moments that speak to just my willingness to just jump and let the net appear.
Wow, that's pretty heavy stuff, man. That's pretty heavy stuff. So I mean, like, obviously, your journeys around the world have absolutely reinvented you, and led you to ultimately finding yourself internally. So, how much emphasis would you put that on somebody, to anybody today? I mean, realistically, like, how important do you think that is towards human experience, just finding yourself?
If you want to go, we're here to supersede our successors. It's written in our DNA. We're here to go farther, think bigger, do more. And if you want to own that, you must find out who you are without everyone's opinion of you, who you are without those comforting words from your loved ones, who you are without, you know, your Instagram followers and things of that nature. And every time I left a jungle and went to the next one, left a people, a community, a language, and went to the next one and was able to build something there, you know, that showed me that no matter where I am, there I am. No matter where I go, I am who I am. And it frees me from needing something, which when I'm not in that need state, I'm in an abundant state. And that empowers somebody like me, because now I know I'm always able to give. And so I ask myself, like, what am I here to give? So if you're on that journey, it's imperative you go outside of your comfort zone. Doesn't mean across the country. It could mean across the city. But go somewhere and find out. And in that finding out, questions you didn't even know you had about yourself will be answered. And I would say in today's day and age, not only do that, but document. Like, I documented all of this. So it's so amazing to be able to go to my phone and scroll up to October 2014 and just see the younger me with a low cut fade, right? Just speaking and being and existing and realizing, like, you know, I'm the result of my choices. And so to your question, it's so important to go out of your comfort zone, to try new things, to fail. It's so important to learn that failure isn't final, that failure isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, regret is. And if you live long enough to experience regret, you'll never want to go through it again. So I would suggest anyone listening who's on that similar path to just risk something, especially if you have a loving family, loving home, you know, especially if you have support, especially if you have some money saved. I had a loving family, but I didn't have no plan B. I didn't have no savings. I just trusted myself, and I prayed a lot, and I journaled a lot. You know, I did it like the monk way, where I just knew that the worst case scenario would not be me falling on my face. The worst case scenario would be me not listening to myself, and then at this age that I am today, being like, man, I should have done it. You know, I never want to be the guy that says, hey, man, if I were you, I would. Like, nah. Ain't no if I were you. I'm me. You know what I'm saying?
As they say, there's a phrase that goes, just live without regret, you know?
Yeah.
That's super important. I definitely try my best to live up to that every single moment of the day.
Yeah.
To close this out, man, what does the word fitness mean to you?
What does the word fitness mean to me? I'm going to be honest with you. To me, fitness means a state of readiness. Ready. Because fit, what type of fit? Emotionally fit, financially fit, spiritually fit, physically fit, right? Ready. God forbid I get a bad report from my doctor. I'm ready. What do we got to do, doc? How many weeks of chemo? How many weeks of fasting? What do I got to amputate? What do I got to go to rehab for? What do we got to shrink down? What do I need to go under the knife about? I'm ready. My body's ready. My white blood cells are ready. My mind is ready. You know, God forbid a tragedy struck in my family or around someone I love. Okay, I'm ready to grieve. I'm ready to release. I'm ready to mourn. I'm ready to go to that person. I'm ready to hug. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to listen. You know, like spiritually, God, what are you telling me? What do I need to fast from? What do I need to release myself from? What do I need to look out into the world about? What do I need to look up to you about? You know, it's a state of readiness. It's being able to take life, because life is the sport. You're the athlete. And the body is the machine. We can fine tune it for any track, for any terrain. We're hybrid. The body is the only machine on earth that gets better over time if the mind is guiding it. And so for me, fitness is a state of internal readiness. And when this life is over, spiritually, I'm ready to let go of it. 1,000 reps and 1,000 ego deaths.
Man, you're built different. You're built different. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate the good times, the good conversation. I train with him almost every week, every day. We did it right before this.
Yep.
Man, kicked my ass. Tap in with this guy if you want to change your life, mentally and physically. Corey is the man, seriously.
Thank you, brother.
Once more.
Once more.